Companies send in bids for the wall. Plans for the construction of the new U.S. border wall are making serious progress. Up to 450 businesses have put in bids to construct a wall along the U.S. border with Mexico. These bids include plans for solar panels on the wall, mesh wire fencing, and also a hyperloop. According to the San Diego Union-Tribune, the Department of Homeland Security will narrow the submissions down to 20 by June 1st. After that, the companies will be asked to build prototypes on federal land. The DHS wants a 9.4-meter tall wall made of either solid concrete or with a viewing portion. It's estimated to cost at least $20 billion or much more. Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews. Stay tuned for lots more on POTUS 45's plans for the Mexican border. Trump's border wall would likely cost up to $40 billion. The MIT Technology Review questioned Donald Trump's claim that it will cost $12 billion to build a border wall between the U.S. and Mexico. According to MIT, that figure could go up to $40 billion. MIT Technology Review estimated that building a wall 50 feet tall, with 10 feet extended underground, with a length of 1,000 miles, would require about 9.7 million cubic meters of concrete, which costs around $9 billion. Since Trump has promised the wall will be reinforced with steel, it will need about 2.3 billion kilograms of steel, which adds another $4.6 billion to the cost. The addition of labor costs and other expenses brings the cost estimate to between $27 billion and $40 billion. Research firm Bernstein Research has calculated that if Trump's wall is 5 feet wide, 1 foot deep, and 1,000 miles long, it would require a total of 7.1 million cubic meters of concrete at a cost of over $700 million. It would also require around 2.4 million tons of cement at a cost of around $240 million. Moreover, labor, land acquisition, and construction payments could bring the cost of the wall to anywhere between $15 billion and $25 billion. How will Donald Trump build his border wall? Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump boldly declared last summer that he would build a great wall along the border between the U.S. and Mexico, and that nobody builds walls better than him. Months later, Trump continues to stand by these claims and insist that Mexico will pay for the wall's construction. According to engineers, for Donald Trump's proposed border wall to be effective, it has to be at least 20 feet high above ground and stretch 5 feet below ground. Trump told MSNBC in early February he was envisioning something between 35 to 40 feet tall. In terms of building material, cinder blocks are readily accessible and they would make a sturdy wall. However, stacking each block one by one is labor-intensive. Casting liquid concrete into formwork along the border is another option, but walls made this way are usually weak when they solidify in dry, hot environments. Lining up precast concrete panels and reinforcing them with steel is the most plausible option. The wall would look like a large version of concrete highway walls. By multiplying the wall's price per square foot by the number of miles the wall would cover, Trump estimates that his wall will cost around $8 billion. His calculation does not include construction costs, the cost of building on different terrain, as well as the cost of buying private land. Factors like these could cause the price to be upwards of $15 billion. So it's a good thing Mexico is footing the bill. But Mexico may not have received the memo. A few weeks ago, former Mexican President Felipe Calderón reportedly said that Mexicans are not going to pay any single cent for such a stupid wall. Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews. A brief animated history of U.S. border walls and the consequences they cause. In preparation for the United States presidential election in 2016, some Republican candidates have raised the issue of U.S. borders protection again. Donald Trump wants to build a wall along the length of the U.S.-Mexico border, while Wisconsin Governor and 26th Grand Old Party presidential hopeful Scott Walker said he wouldn't rule out building a fence between the U.S. and Canada. However, the history of U.S. border protection has shown the idea of a brick-and-mortar wall to be unfeasible. The U.S. and Mexico share a common border of about 2,000 miles or 3,200 kilometers. The construction of the so-called border wall first began in 1993 between San Diego and Tijuana. By 2006, only 14 miles of the fence had been completed, at a cost of $39 million. In 2008, an amendment was passed to build 670 miles of fencing by the end of the year. But by 2011, only 649 miles of fences scattered in disconnected pieces along the southwest border had been completed. Of those, 299 non-contiguous miles of vehicle barriers were built at an approximate cost of $1.7 million per mile. And 350 non-contiguous miles of pedestrian fencing were built at an estimated cost of $6.5 million per mile. The project is too expensive to ever be finished. Also in 2011, a virtual wall was announced with mobile surveillance and unmanned drones across the entire 2,000-mile border to be implemented at a cost of over $7 billion. A pilot program with 53 miles of virtual surveillance was launched in Arizona, but later abandoned after $1 billion was spent. The project was deemed not to be cost-effective. Donald Trump said in an interview that as president, he would use his negotiating skills to make Mexico pay for the cost of building physical border walls. But the problem is not only financial. Physical walls have not only failed to slow illegal immigration, but have also caused a rise of migrants' deaths. With higher security, people still attempt the crossing, but in more remote and risky border areas. At the same time, walls can cause environmental problems, such as the erosion of mountains, the dumping of erosion waste into rivers, and consequential flooding. Physical fences also restrict the movement of animals, impeding their ability to find mates, food, and water sources. At this point, virtual walls seem to be a more feasible solution. However, some Americans are worried about the privacy issues related to high-tech surveillance. Others have expressed concerns about the health safety issues related to the use of lasers, radar, and biometric technology. Yet despite these concerns and the high costs, the virtual wall seems to be the only viable alternative to a physical wall for protection of the entire 2,000-mile border. A subsidiary of Elbit Systems, an Israeli defense company, was contracted last year to build a new special high surveillance system for use along the 387-mile Arizona-Mexico border.